Four Eyes here again, and this is going to be just a quick little video, not even a rant maybe, but more or less just a thought I had where I was looking at these two comics. They're 4 and 12 of Warheads, which it's a UK Marvel Comics UK installment or whatever they call it, where the short-lived Marvel UK comics had like Death's Head 2 or whatever, and some other things like in print, kind of like Max, but even short-lived or even more short-lived. Uh, but what I noticed with these, and these are two random comics I got in like throughout the my collecting, and I looked at them and I went, okay, something about this cover. Obviously, right away, I was like, oh, this looks kind of interesting. This cover, not so much. Yeah, sure, you have like them meeting with X Force, and I'm like, okay, well, you'd think that would be worth checking out. But what I was So here's the quick little rant, little I think I had a problem with is, for one, I don't have number one, so I tried to piece together what was going on in here, and it's like, I don't know. To me, it's gobbledygook, gooey, ooey, nonsensical shit. I don't even know. Like, I feel like it's not worth your time. Technodrome. No, but yeah, this is literally just. I feel like an obligatory like the X Force. There's like portals involved in this whole warhead thing. So then why not have the X Force team also go through a portal and meet up with these other characters? Um, and it like I think the joke is that like the main character like is like a badass and whatnot and lives through everything, and then this is I guess a little bit more adult because it's like there is some like death and whatnot that you normally wouldn't see in a friggin' Marvel comic. Like it's still kind of cartoony or whatever, but I feel like it's just obligatory. This character also bugs me. I don't know why, but having like a black box around her mouth just bugs the shit out of me. Like such a bad design. Um, Also, what? Where's those aren't there anymore? But yeah, no, it's funny. Basically, what I'm getting to is this interior art and even the front cover. I think this artwork, I think, looks like trash. No offense to, again, that's why I was trying to figure out why I had a different feeling about this comic than I did this comic. Same comic, and I know this is how most comics are, where you have different teams eventually cutting in and coming in and coming out and whatnot, right? You usually have a different story person, usually have a different penciler or whatever, inker. I think that's what kind of would kill like a comic like this that or Spider-Man, fine. I like that you can have like two issues of JRJR doing something, and then he can fuck off. Um, but for me, when you have something like this, where you're like, well, we have to keep the audience invested on something that is already kind of a weird thing to try and get them invested in. We're gonna change up the team. So again, this is issue 4. By issue 12, they change up. I'm pretty sure almost everyone in on the list. Let me see. I have to double check again. It just feels like a completely different comic. So we have, let me see if I can get this on screen. So we have this one has story Nick Fince. This one has writer John Freeman and Craig Houston. Okay, that's not matching. Okay. Penciler Stuart Jennett and inks, excuse me, pencils Dave Taylor. Not the same. Inker Adolfo Abulaya and inks Cam Smith. I'm sure you know where I'm going with this. Letter Annie Parkhouse. Letter Annie Park. Oh, hey, there we go. We've got one person staying on. Well, at least a letterer. At least they got to keep the job. And then you got colors. David Lech. That guy stay. Okay, cool. So then we've got those guys. The editor obviously is going to stay, and of course the editor in chief. So, anyways, let's just cut to the chase. I like the look of this comic better. But again, this is like this is just a me thing where it's like this gives me full on like Jamie Hewlett Tank Girl vibes with the Simon Bisley, Keith Giffen, sort of energy. The style is more compelling in this. The story's a little bit more entertaining. It's just as stupid as the rest of the stuff. At least in this one, you can see like someone just getting brat up. You know, again, the story is fucking gobbledygook. It's just like Miss Mistex. Mistech is the company that like sends these guys out into portals and they come back with shit and like there's like little nuggets of fun stuff here where like you have like these grunts that go and get killed, Starship Trooper style. Like they're just like fodder. Don't get that feeling from this book. This book is just like it seems like it's an obligatory like they're going to be in this random chaotic world, which seems like every issue is that way. Which I think is probably the one thing that keeps consistent is like they all just vanish into or they just go to these weird wacky worlds and hijinks ensue sort of energy. Um, this is kind of okay. I will say this is kind of a good picture, or a nice shot. Um, but yeah, like I don't like this artist or this team of artists. And just because you have the X Force joining in doesn't really help. Anyways, so going back onto this, also like that right there is just like that's Tank Girl right there. We all know that this is a UK imprint, so why not steal a little of the 80s, early 90s Hewlett UK? I don't know what they would call that. The how you would summarize in a short, like concise way, like the Team Extreme or whatever you want to call the image guys. They always call them the image guys. What was that was kind of the house style or whatever you call it for a good a hot minute in the Marvel North American kind of area, and then this is more or less like what they were doing with like the 20 or 2000 AD, monthly comic and magazine or whatever, and Deadline. Again, all those things that would be synonymous with the the British sensibilities of comic making. But yeah, this I feel like there's just night and day. Like I still don't care for the story, like I said, but this one at least was just kind of like I brought some. It's literally just we went and did something. A bunch of rookies that didn't survive. A bunch of crazy dinosaurs being turned into I don't know meat or whatever by robots. Some alien made some cyborg dinosaurs to fight off these robots and whatnot, and then they fuck off and they don't really give a shit about whatever's happening in that other world. So that's kind of a whiplash of things. And then randomly they're, hey, as you got back with the whatever technology, I guess the whole gimmick is that they are constantly getting stuff so that when they go back to Earth or whatever, they can upgrade their shit. So here's literally just a training room, Starship Troopers scene, and they're testing out all the new stuff. Like this is the other half of the comic. The first half was people dying and dinosaurs. What was me? And this is people dying and testing out new stuff, and they don't know that these are actually real people or whatever. Whatever. Don't tell them the Soylent Green is people sort of energy. But yeah, it's just a bunch of just random bullshit. And remember this ad? I still don't know who did this, but yeah, this sometimes lives rent free in my mind. I don't know why you didn't want this art style for this to advertise for this particular game, but whatever. Um, yeah, and you got all the people dying, and so this was way more interesting. And you have this talking like Hal, if Hal was a gun, but its name is Clementine. and she talks like a Southern belle, which is pretty badass. It's probably the best part about the whole thing is, "Where's my gun? Where's Clementine?" Even though I don't know if that's his accent, but then she's like, "I'm right here, sugar," and then it's like, "I need you to blow things up," and she's like, "Right on it. I'm whatever stereotypical Southern belle things." Anyways, um, yeah, I just thought it was fascinating to be like, I could care less about this comic if you gave me this one. But then I would have been mildly intrigued and interested in this if you gave me this. And yet they're technically in the same they're the same comic, like the same run. So sometimes I just get in these little moments where I'm like, this video is for probably no one and no one's gonna click on this, but for those who do, they kind of go, yeah, what is up with that? What up with that? Um, just like with any of the other little like I see this and I don't know if anyone cares. Doesn't look at stuff like this enough to care. Um, but at the end of the day, I'm just like, this comic would have made me kind of at least try to look into it and see if like now I'm just wondering, I'm gonna eventually look into this, but if like this is 12, does 11 look like this? Does 13 look like this? When does this go into, when does 4 eventually go into 12, like stylistically, or is it all just one big? And I only have these two copies, so I don't have any other ones to like work off of. If I had like maybe let's just say I had a third one that was somewhere in between the two, and I saw that like either they stayed with this or they went with this, it means that they would have only had maybe 2 teams between. I don't even know how many this how long this run goes for. I bet it wouldn't. I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't go past more than 12 issues, anyways. Um, Chances are it's either only at 12 issues or it like ran for like 20. You're just like, that's 20 too many more. No, but yeah, this was just one of those things where I'm like, it's weird that like you can easily, I feel like, either alienate your reader or, the mantra of like, well, every comic is someone's first comic. This is a great example of like, well, if I saw this, I would be like, yeah, I'm okay. It's all, like, unless I was really, you know, big on the X Force, maybe that's what, you know, this would be the only comic I give a shit about. But if I saw this, I'd be like, okay, I might actually give this whole, like, at least up until 12. I'd go searching for 1 through 11 to see, how this all kind of pans out. But knowing that this is how it actually turns out, it's like, uh, I like I could see just alienating. So again, and this is just like because of my personal taste on the aesthetics. The story again is garbly gook. I don't really give a shit about it, so that doesn't obviously help. But sometimes, the art will then also compel me to read it at least. I mean, I still at least read this one. I didn't read this one. I don't care to read this one. Like that's where I'm at with this, where it's like this one resonated with me enough to give a damn, and this one didn't. And that's where I think is a weird disconnect where I'm like, I can't be the only person that goes, yeah, uh, changing stuff on the whim can easily alienate your reader to go, yeah, I'm done reading it. Especially if like obviously this is earlier, so I would have never gave it any chance. But then maybe if I did come across this and I went, oh, okay, like now I care about this comic. But knowing that I have to get through this first to get to this, like I don't know. See how I'm just it's a weird predicament that would allow me to, or that doesn't allow me to enjoy it at like full full sail. Like it's like I guess it's just like I said with when people go, oh, where do I start with like Spider-Man or whatever? I'm like, you don't really. You just pick like little pockets in time that resonate with you, either visually or the story. So like Spider-Man, I would never like go, oh yeah, start with number one. Granted, that's if you're just trying to read it. Sure, why not? Just you can actually do that. You can pull that off. Also, I just realized how tiny this person is compared to him. Like sizes of this stuff looks fucking stupid. Like this is Farrell or whatever her name is, and it looks weird that she's like a little baby child, and there's this big guy here. The main character apparently. Again, this guy's kind of cool looking. I kind of like this guy, kind of Clint Eastwood esque. you know, kind of gruff, doing his thing, and you've got this style over here. It's almost like, again, I'm gonna mostly just continue to rant, but this to me just screams generic '90s house style. If this doesn't look like uh, Rob Liefeld, then get it out of my face. And then over here, I'm like, dude, I'm digging this. This is, like I said, this is the British invasion. You know, Jamie Hewlett, Keith Giffen. I don't know. There's probably more references I can make, but anyways, yeah, I'm just like, this is actually kind of sick. This looks like trash. Again, that's where I'm at with this whole thing. Where I'm like, just like with like now why people are into manga. It's like, well, because they like the style and the style stays, so that they're compelled to stay with the story as well. It's not like it's weird. I think that's the biggest drawback with people where you're like, I don't know what to do. It's like, oh, just start with number one. It's easy with manga to do that. And also it's easy for you to stay with it because it's consistent with the writer, with the artist, for the most part. I mean, eventually, like Dragon Ball doesn't stay the same. You whatever Super or whatever isn't Toriyama, you know, or whatever. But yeah, I just thought this video will at least have one person go, you know what? That's exactly what I'm have a problem with is this whole thing where you're rocking with one set of writer, uh, artist or whatever, and it seems to be successful that way, but then it changes and then it doesn't become so successful, or vice versa. Sometimes it doesn't start out well, but then you change up who's on it, like this, and then it becomes popular. And it's just like, clearly those are decisions that people must recognize and then wonder why uh, stuff kind of peters in and out. Like some people are just like, oh, you got to read this little pocket of time of an X-Men run. As long as it has Claremont on it, you're good to go. And luckily, he did it for like at least a decade or two. But then that still means there's other stuff involved that muddies it with other artists and you know editors or whatever. You know, but yeah, uh, just one more video of me kind of dissecting random little. Hang on a minute. Is this what's wrong with comics sometimes? Sort of energy, right? Or is this why like I can't help but like fixate on these little. I don't even know. I wouldn't even consider it an eureka moment. Haha. But I think that's why a lot of people like manga right now is because it stays consistent. And, and some stuff like this can benefit from being, mixing it up. Like this, I guess maybe this can be productive in that this team got this done sooner than this team did, or whatever. Whatever. However it or these guys fit in better with this group and so on or whatever than this team. But I don't know. At the end of the day, I'm like, this is a boring comic. This is a slightly less boring comic. At least I like the looks of the way the pencil and the inker kind of design stuff. And yeah, so I've been Four Eyes, and I'm out.